Hello, everybody. Welcome into UFO Fantasy Football. I'm Jackson. That's Finn. And today we are going to talk about our Week 8 Stars of the Week. I can't believe we're at Week 8 already.
I was just going to say that. That's insane.
We're almost halfway done.
But I'm ready.
Yeah.
No.
All right, let's dive right into it. Who's your quarterback start of the week?
I'm going with Mr. Kirk Cousins. It's not a name I usually get too excited about, but he's had over 20 fantasy points in his last two games that he's played. He's coming off the bye week, and he's going against Arizona, who gave up a ton of fantasy points last week to Mr. Andy Dalton. Even though they did have a couple of pick sixes, but overall, I think they gave up over 30 points, real points.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Cardinals are allowing the third most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks over the past 3 weeks. I don't know. I kind of see Kirk Cousins getting about, little over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, is kind of my expectation. Yeah. So I don't know if he's going to go off and get like 40 points, but I think if you need a guy to start this week, I think he'd be solid for you.
Yeah, I believe the last time Kirk Cousins played in Arizona, he had like 240 and 3 touchdowns, something like that.
So, that would be great. Yeah. Now, the Cardinals have been kind of gashed on the ground if you look at their stats over the last 3 games, which has contributed to some of those fantasy points against, which won't be the case here. But I still like it. And they have one of the highest over-unders this week at 49 as well.
That's really that high? Wow.
Yeah. And then I'll just give a quick kind of honorable mention quarterback would be the guy I referenced, Andy Dalton, this week, getting for the Saints. I view this as more like a high-risk, high-reward kind of guy because, you saw it last week. He can throw for a ton. And I believe he's going against Vegas, who is the worst defense against opposing quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that makes it risky is Jameis Winston's healthy. So if he throws 2 picks early, maybe they yank him, going in a different direction. So, but I do think there's a lot of upside there if you're looking for somebody who's pretty cheap on like a DFS standpoint.
Absolutely, and he's probably on your waivers too.
Yeah,
if you need someone.
Yeah, if someone's on a bye, I think Mahomes is out this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's on a bye, so
yep.
They also have a high over under 49.5 for Vegas Saints game. So,
all right, cool. My start of the week is going to be Tua Tagovailoa. He's going against the Lions' abysmal defense, and he has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Waddle's a little banged up. He's questionable. I don't know if he's playing or not, but you just like toss a little like a route to Tyreek Hill. He's going to go like 15 yards every time.
I know.
So he's going to be pretty safe. And like I said, the Lions defense is just really, really bad. Just all around, to the quarterback, to the running back, receivers, kind of everywhere. And then my honorable mention.
Can I
go ahead.
Miami Detroit has the highest over under this week as well at 51.5.
You want a bunch of people in there.
Yeah, exactly. I like Swift. I like a lot of guys in that game. But yeah, if Tua can just do what he did in the first quarter of last week's game, and carry that throughout, that would be impressive.
I think he will. And then my honorable mention is going to be Daniel Jones. Last week he got 30 points or so against me. And he's got a pretty favorable matchup as well against the Seahawks defense. So
yeah,
he's probably on your waivers as well. So it might be worth checking out.
He gets you a nice floor with the rushing totals that he gets. Kind of a sneaky rusher, but he can probably get you 40 to 60 yards rushing, which is 60 yards rushing is like getting another touchdown. So
exactly. Yeah. Definitely worth it if you need someone. Let's move on to running backs here. Who's your 2 guys?
I got Alvin Kamara against Vegas. I already kind of referenced this game, but Kamara's just been on a tear. I thought he was kind of fading for a little while, but he's bounced back big. 23 points, 18 points, and 18 points in his last 3 games he's played. Getting more involved in the passing game with Andy Dalton in there and Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry out. He's had 6 or 7 receptions in each of those last 3 games as well. From a Raiders standpoint, again, similar to their past defense, they've been okay against the run, but their overall defense has given up a lot of points. And what's a little sneaky too is they've actually allowed some of the most receptions to running backs. The Raiders defense have. So I actually like Kamara to do some damage in the passing game in this one. So I think he gives you a nice floor there, and I'd expect him to get in the end zone as well. So
yeah, he has not scored a touchdown this year.
Wow,
which is insane. It's gonna change, and he's putting up those numbers without doing that.
Right.
So when he does, I mean, he's just gonna go nuclear.
Yeah.
Who's your second guy?
I got Deonta Foreman against Atlanta. Took a big risk. I picked him up in like every league I could after that McCaffrey news hit. A little nervous after that. Game played out. Like Chuba got the start.
Chuba's out this week.
Chuba is out this week, which is one of the big reasons I've got him starting. But yeah, I mean, last week he still put up, he had 15 carries, 118 yards. That was with splitting carries.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Chuba's out this week. So I see a heavy workload against a beatable Atlanta Falcons defense.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm going to start him everywhere. And then I just got one other sleeper guy. I'm going with Michael Carter against New England. Again, I don't love the matchup against the Patriots, but I think with Breece Hall on IR, and they did trade for James Robinson, but I don't think he's going to be up and running quite yet. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they'll give him a couple carries, but I think they're going to lean on Michael Carter there. I think he might be a decent play if you need to.
Yeah, probably like flex. I don't know about running back 2 or not, but
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah, and that's digging a little bit deeper. If you really are hurting for a guy, maybe RB, but yeah, ideally flex if you need him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. My first running back here is going to be Raheem Mostert. Like we said, we already mentioned that game. You want pieces of it. The Lions are absolutely they're the second worst against running backs, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And Raheem Mostert has taken over that role. Chase Edmonds is like nobody anymore. He's lost his way.
Mm-hmm.
Mostert's proven himself, and I think he's just going to gash the Lions. And my other guy here is Tony Pollard against the Bears. The Bears are the 6th worst against running back, and no Zeke Elliott this week.
Is he officially out?
He is officially out.
Wow. Okay.
So Pollard's going to get all the snaps, and I mean he's viable even when they're both there. So when it's just going to be him, I think he's going to be a smash play this week.
Mm-hmm. He could be like Kamara style.
He could, honestly.
Getting those catches and kind of work his way around the outside there.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to say Mostert, I think, has the injury designation.
He is questionable.
So just got to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe he's leaning towards playing, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's pivot to receivers here. Who are your 2 or 3?
Yeah, I know. I'm going T. Higgins here.
Absolutely.
We kind of talked about it. Jamar Chase is out. I got a lot of shares of Higgins, so it's nice that he's finally healthy and going to be the number 1 guy for Joe Burrow. He's been targeted like 7 to 10 times in each of the last 5 games that he's actually played in. And Browns have been average against those wide receivers, but divisional matchup, Monday Night Football. I just think it's going to be a big game for Higgins, and he's going to be the primary option.
Boyd as well should be a pretty good play.
Yep. And my next guy, I've got Gabe Davis for the Bills going against Green Bay. When you look at the stats for Gabe Davis, it's not overly impressive. He's only had 6 targets in each of his last 2 games, but he's had 3 touchdowns in those 2 games. So he's just like a touchdown monster. I do expect him to be a little bit more involved. Bills are coming off their bye week. And similar to that last one, I mean, this is Sunday Night Football at home in Buffalo versus the Packers. It just seems like a situation where the Bills are just going to take this opportunity to just show how good they are.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
Absolutely.
Kind of poured on.
Yeah.
So I see Gabe Davis being heavily involved in this. From a Packers defense standpoint that we always kind of reference, they're kind of middle of the road against the Packers, against opposing wide receivers over the past 3 games. But if you look at who they played over the past 3 games, Commanders, Jets, and Giants. So not necessarily like teams with like great passing games necessarily.
Yeah.
Or with big time receivers. I mean, McLaurin had a little bit, but there's no Jets or Giants receivers that stand out, so those guys are not the Bills. So I think it's going to be a little different. And then my last honorable mention is DJ Moore.
I agree.
I think maybe coming back from the dead and going against Atlanta, which is the worst team against wide receivers over the past 3 games. 54 receptions, 755 yards, and 5 touchdowns to wide receivers in their last 3 games. And Panthers have nobody else to throw to. I mean, it's basically just DJ Moore. So even if he'll probably get 12 targets and only catch like 6 or 7 of them. But, I think it'll still be enough to have a decent day.
Absolutely. Fun fact, do you know that whoever wins that game will be the leader of the NFC South?
Wow. The Panthers could.
The Panthers could. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. That is gross. Gross.
Man. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Anyways, my first receiver here is going to be Chris Olave. You alluded to that game before already, so I don't really need to go into too much detail.
Yeah.
Vegas is just so bad against the receivers, and Chris Olave is kind of the only main guy left.
I think he had 14 targets last week. I don't have it in front of me.
But it was double digits for sure.
Yeah, I got Olave in some daily fantasy stuff for Sunday. So
yeah. Mike Thomas is still hurt, I believe.
I think they ruled Thomas and Landry out again.
Yeah, so it's going to be the Olave show all the way. And my second guy is going to be kind of a pair. It's going to be A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. The Steelers' defense, although it was actually decent last week against the Bucs, it's still pretty terrible.
Dolphins, right? Last week?
Yes.
Right.
No,
Okay.
it was the Bucs, I thought.
I think Tua.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
They
a Florida team. Some Florida team.
Some Florida team. They held Evans and Godwin, and then they held Hill and Waddle actually for the most part, because they still get gashed all the time. They got a little bit better and didn't let scoring or any scoring happen, but the receivers still have a field day against the Steelers. And A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith actually both have 33 receptions this year.
Wow.
Brown has a little bit more yards, but they're both valid to play. All right, let's finish up here with the tight end position.
Yeah, so I'm going with Pat Freiermuth for my tight end. It's a little bit Slim Pickens here, which I do like as a George Pickens nickname.
Slim Pickens. I like
but Mark Andrews played on Thursday night here. I think Kelsey's out. So if you're looking on DraftKings and stuff, there's really not a lot of great options. Freiermuth is kind of affordable on that standpoint. He's had 9 targets in 2 of his last 3 games. And the one that he didn't was the game he got knocked out with a concussion against Buffalo. So Pickett's really been targeting him, kind of a safety option for him there. And you're expecting the Steelers, although their passing game hasn't been great, I'm expecting them to be down in this game and probably having to throw. I just see a lot of Muth, in the middle there. And Eagles, allowing the 11th most fantasy points to tight end. It's not that impressive of a number, though, but for what it's worth. A couple other sneaky guys I do like, too, is Will Dissly against the Giants. Giants actually allowing the most receptions to tight ends over the last 3 games. And then Hayden Hurst, because we were asking for Chase being out.
Absolutely.
When Higgins was out, Hurst got a bump in production, and totally see that happening again.
Yeah. I picked up Hurst in a couple places already. But my tight end here is going to be Irv Smith, Vikings tight end, going against the Cardinals. Cardinals are actually the second worst against tight ends. I think teams have schemed just for tight ends just because of how bad they are against them, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's like more of like a sneaky play, like probably more daily, and he's definitely on your waivers. I think I picked him up in one league.
I've got him starting this week because Njoku's out, so I've got Irv Smith starting. So I'm hoping. I've got Cousins as one of my picks. I'm hoping those two connect here.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my honorable mention here is probably going to be Mike Gesicki. He's been getting up target a little bit more in the Dolphins offense, and they're starting to utilize him as a a tight end receiver, because he's a freak athlete and he should be getting some targets.
Hawkinson in that game also. He's questionable, but I mean
he's always questionable.
Yeah, so I didn't include him in my grouping, but he's definitely a viable play if he's
absolutely
healthy.
All right, and that is going to do it for this week's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you did. It would really help us out, and you'll see all of our content in the future. So until then, see ya.